Welcome to the Garden of Edun. Dami be asking the questions for the answers that you want to hear. All you gotta do is sit back, grab a chair, or listen up while you clean and cook. Take a leaf from the creative's book. These gems open your mind and your heart. Okay, the show's gonna start. Cheese! Yes. Welcome back to the Garden of Edun, where ideas grow. I am your host, Dami Edun, and today I'm joined by a very, very special guest of mine. So I have to say, Eugene Amo-Dadzie. Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah.
That was good. That was very good.
So Eugene is a track and field athlete, a sprinter who is representing England. Come on, man's wearing the jersey right now, letting you not know.
You know what I mean?
On top of that, man is a chartered accountant. And for those of you who probably don't know, a former Knots ACS legend. So, bro, I have to start off with this, yeah? When I was a fresher, so just to give everyone context, we both went to the University of Nottingham. And when I was a fresher in my first year, I used to look up to Eugene so much because of moments that he provided in my life. So as we were at the Uni of Nottingham, we were in the African Caribbean Society, or ACS for short, and we used to have this really heated derby with the boys over at Nottingham Trent. And one of my first memories of Eugene, and like cemented in my head, was when he scored a winner in a game against Trent. And I remember just being like, praising this guy. I can never forget that moment.
No, I remember that. That was epic scenes, man. I do remember that.
Yeah. So I just have to say, on top of everything that you're doing now, I'm just gassed to have the guy that I was looking up to as an 18, 19-year-old on the show. So welcome. I hope that
Thank you so much, bro.
I hope that was a satisfactory introductory.
Bro, that was a hell of an introduction. Honestly, I'm so blessed by that. Thank you so much.
And I guess one of the things that I want to come on to as well from that is, obviously I had that idea about you at the time, and just to see where you've gone in your journey and taking it into athletics has been just on a starting level, has been so inspiring to me. Like I said it just before we started, and I appreciate and I don't know on a level like physically, but I just appreciate how much work has to go into the things that you're doing, man. Like the mental toughness, the perseverance, the dedication. Like I'm sure you'll probably be saying it as we go through the show, like how much of a constant process and slog it is to rise up in that field.
100%. No, honestly, like it's mad. This whole journey, like athletics, so 2018, that's when I started. So this is actually my third season in the sport. Before that, I mean, I was just playing football. I was in a little Saturday league, just enjoying myself. Nothing, just keep the body active and that. And literally, true story, like the way I got into it. So obviously I was quick at school or whatever. But I literally just finished a pre-season game. I was on my way home, but we played a pre-season game at what is now my sort of local athletics track or home athletics track, my club, Woodford Green.
Oh, wow. That's okay. Yeah.
So we was at Woodford Ashton playing fields, and the track's there, and it had the pitches at the back. So we're walking to the car park now, and my car's parked just like by the track. So I'm going home with my boy, and he's like, yo, like, obviously I like athletics, innit? Whether it's like Diamond League, Olympics, or whether it's local, I'm going to watch it. So he was like, yo, let's just, chill, watch it. So we start watching it, and hundreds happen to be on. So he's like, oh, Eugene, like, I reckon you could put on a pair of spikes and beat these, man. And I think, I even know what the winning time was that day. It was like 11 point something like, and I think I ran like 11.3 back in school. So he was like, no, Eugene, I reckon you could. And at the time, I think there was a bit of politics and in my team, and I was just getting a bit tired of the team I was playing for at the time. So I was like, you know what? why not in it? Like, I think one of the things that probably stopped me from taking up the sport before was probably just I was believing my own legend a bit. Like, I was fast at school and playing football. There was rarely ever anybody that was quicker than me on a football pitch. So it was kind of like okay for me to think I could have made it, but actually doing it, taking that plunge, because you might start it, and when you do athletics, like at the end of the day, at a fundamental level, everyone's fast, right? Obviously, you have people that are faster than other people, but everyone's fast. So it was kind of like if I was going to do it and then actually find out that nah, you're not as quick as you think you are, bro, then it might have been a magic.
It would destroy the
whole
illusion
legend,
of,
you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I kind of just made a decision. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Like, what have I got to lose? I'm not really enjoying my football right now, so I'll just do athletics and see where it takes me.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. So it was just serendipity, you having the match at an athletics ground that got you
Literally.
even going that way. Mad. That's so mad. So you said that you so you had an interest in it before anyway, then, like as a fan.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, not a big athletics fan, like domestic, also international athletes. Obviously, did it in school and stuff, like primary school, secondary school, and like I watched a ton of athletics just growing up. You know what I mean? I'm always looking for the next athletics meet on, whether it's a stream or whatever. So for sure, I'm massively interested. I would say I was that classic like young boy, wanted to be a footballer, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
Athletics was never really something that I thought about in terms of athletics. Was always something that was like the feeling that I get when I run, when I sprint, it's like nothing else. So it was just one of those things that I just enjoyed doing. But in terms of like, do it as a career or whatever like that, no, athletics was never that for me.
Yeah. So because you said you did it at school, and I imagine like obviously life gets in the way, you know, you got pressures from family, school.
You already know the vibes, man.
Peer
African
pressure. What were your parents supportive of your like sporting or athletic ambitions when you were younger?
It was, to be honest, like I'm sure you'll probably be able to relate to this, but it's not that they wasn't supportive of it, but the way they know is education, right? So they're gonna try and because that's what they know. So they want the best for their child, and that's what they think is the best. So I'd say that they definitely pushed me towards academics. It was always about academics for them. So long as my extracurricular stuff didn't get in the way of academics, then they were all good. So I'd come home sometimes and be like, oh yeah, mum, you know, I won this trophy at football. I won this medal from athletics. And I'd be like, oh yeah, you know, that's nice. That's good. Well done. But if I'm coming home telling them, yo, like I got the highest mark in the class, or, you know, I just got, you know, AA whatever in this, and they're like, okay, yes, well done. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So yes,
now we're
that's
in
it.
business.
That's my boy. And exactly that. So you know what I mean? I know we in our culture, we always joke about the whole, you got to be a doctor, a lawyer, you know, an accountant, engineer, you know, all these kind of careers. But that's what it was in my household, you know. But I don't fault my parents for that, because at the end of the day, that's what they know. That's what they know. So if something else is unknown, I guess the culture and the background they're coming from, it was unlikely that they're going to think, oh, I'm not really sure how it's going to pan out. Sports, or maybe you can get injured and then that's it. We want you to have something you can make money off. And like you said, I'm a chartered accountant. I can make money from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got a career. So yeah,
Come
for sure.
on, fam. Let them know.
Amen.
It's not just about the physical. Man's got it in the mental as well. It's not just the physical attributes
at all. So yeah, so you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I probably wouldn't change it, but no, I wouldn't say that it was something that my parents pushed me to do at all. So it was just always one of those things I just did for fun. And still, and to be honest, even now, like, of course, I'm a super ambitious, you know, driven guy, but at the heart of what I'm doing is I want to have fun. I want to enjoy myself. If I'm not enjoying myself, then there's no point.
That is a key place to be in, because obviously it's never always the positive, like fun vibes, in the sense of everything's gonna go my way once I step in. There's gonna be times that you're challenged, that your back's against the wall really, and you have to come back to, I'm doing this for enjoyment. It reminds me, even when I was playing football for uni at uni in my last year, like I was in fourth year, and at the beginning of the year, I was feeling really disillusioned with it, because it felt like a job, because I had to train like 2-3 times a week, and then we had the match, and there was all this commitment, and I had to go to bed early and eat the right foods, and I was I was feeling tired of it. And then I remember having a like conversation with myself and remembering, wait, why am I playing football again? And then I remembered, oh, I enjoy this sport. And I remember, bro, the next morning I went to my training session, which was at 7 a.m. on a Monday, which for a uni student is like, that's hell waking up at like 6 for training. It's hell. But I remember going and having in my mind, I'm going to enjoy my football, and it just manifested into something really enjoyable for the course of the whole year. And like, I always enjoy going to football just because I had to keep in mind, like, I'm doing this for fun at the end of the day. This isn't a job. This isn't to look sick. Like, I'm doing it because I love it, and it makes a massive difference.
100%. And that's a beautiful thing you just said there, because like, I don't know if you saw it recently, but I was training, and then there was this gentleman, he'd come over with his daughter, and he saw me warming up and stuff. So he was like, "Oh, yo, like, I want to race you. I think I can beat you or whatever." And then obviously, me, I love it. It's like that primary school vibe when it's like, "Oh, who's the fastest?" And you race in the primary school, you run to the top of the playground and back, and then who wins? That's the fastest. That's how I stake my claim as the fastest, right? So when he was like, "Yo, you want to race?" I'm thinking, well, forget about the fact that I'm supposedly like some sort of athlete and I'm a sprinter and whatnot. Nah, okay, cool. You're challenging me. Let's go. You're gonna get that work. Go. And in that moment, like, it was so fun. And we had the race. I had my phone out. I was recording it. You know what I mean? And it was so funny. Like, at the end of it, like, just talking to him, and it was just like that. It captured the essence of why I do this athletics. Like, if I'm not gonna enjoy it, if I can't capture that feeling when I'm competing, then forget about it. I'm not gonna do it. So, like, honestly, it doesn't surprise me that you said when you thought about, oh, well, hold on a minute, why am I actually doing this? And you recaptured that actual passion and love you have. That's what's going to drive you. That's what's going to take you. You know what I mean? That's what's going to really get you through the hard training sessions and the waking up early and all that kind of stuff. That just core passion that you have, for football and for myself, for track and field.
Definitely, man. I feel like it's always important to like keep that in mind. And for you, because I know you mentioned earlier that you were with your friend at the athletics club watching on the TV, and then he challenged you to put your spikes on. Did the fire for it come back to you in that moment, or did it take a while for you to go, hold on a minute, this is my thing. This is me.
You know what? Yeah, no, it probably was something that happened through the sort of a gradual process. Like, obviously, every single time I watch athletics, whether on TV or whether I'm watching like a local meeting, that thing inside me, like, of when I was a little boy and in the playground and running against people and being labeled the fastest in the school and that all sort of come back to me straight away. But in terms of the fire, that's been growing and it's still growing, to be honest with you. But in that moment, it was kind of like, you know what? Yeah, he's right. I could do this. Yeah, all right, cool. Like, all right, bet. Let me get the spikes. Let's go. Let's do this. You know what I mean? And I shouted the coach he's my old coach now. And sort of went to my first few sessions. And even at that point in time, obviously, I had no idea what God had in store with regards to obviously what I've then gone on to achieve thus far, and hopefully what, God willing, I'll go on to achieve in future. But yeah, the whole thing has just been a crazy, mad journey.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, and we're gonna get into it. I think as well, just to make a point of it, there's a good lesson in there for being supportive of your friends, because like just that little nudge, man, like having good people around you is
around you. Just on that as well, big shout out, because him and then one of my other boys, so one of my other boys was a little bit more rude about it, but he literally just explained to me all the time. He'd be like, if I had a talent like you, I would have done athletics. Like, you wasted your talent. Like, I can't believe, like, he used to give it to me, and I kind of was like, I just accepted it. So it was one of those things where I didn't even like. I just like, you know what? Every time I see this guy, at some point he's gonna find a way to get onto me about the fact that I'm supposedly wasting my talent or whatever. But like you said, bro, it's a big thing. You know what I mean? It's a big thing where we can support our people, where somebody's got a talent or passion for something, and they're making reasons up, or they're letting something discourage them from just giving it a go and trying it. For sure, like, having my boys around me, giving me that confidence to be like, yo, okay, no, Eugene, I think you can do this. Like, bro, what have you got to lose? Like, try it. You know what I mean? And they're there to hold me up and there to support me and whatnot. So for sure, man, that is a very, very good point, and it makes a difference.
so uh obviously when you step back on the track for the first time, I don't know if this was in your mind or not, but like it would be great to hear. When was the moment where you said to yourself, okay, I am gonna compete again? Because and compete, I'm doing this for the sport of competing against everybody else.
Yeah.
Because that at that moment, right, I feel like what you're doing, and a lot of us do it in different ways in areas of our life, where we essentially like lay down the flag to say, okay, this is going to be my lane now, pardon the pun. This is gonna be my lane now. It was intended actually, but we'll keep it. Because it's a hard thing to do sometimes, because it's all like you were saying earlier, you have the illusion, or you have the idea that this could be your thing and you've got a lot of potential there. But when you lay down the flag, you are now committing. You're saying, okay, I'm opening myself up to this now fully. When did you decide to do that, and what was happening for you? What was happening like in your mind when that was happening? Like, what did anything change? Did you have to adopt a different mindset because you'd decided it was going to be your thing? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, you know what? Good question. The way I'm built, I'm one of those like super competitive people. Like, from we could leave somewhere together, we're going to the same place. I'm gonna drive, I'm gonna get there before you. Like, I'm one of those super like, I take my competitiveness is on a different level. Like, it's not that winning is everything, but I want to win everything, right?
So you're one of them guys zatting on the A13 just to get to the location a minute quicker.
The other day, mad unrelated story, but the mailman was that to me the other day. The postman was like, "Yo, you're the guy in the whatever car. Oh, I see you. You're speeding. Anyway, feds don't come for me. But yeah, I'm one of those guys. Like, I don't know. Like, everything I do, I'm competitive with it. I'm quick with it, kind of thing. So, to be honest with you, from the beginning, that when I decided I'm going to do athletics, I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to completely dedicate myself to this thing and just see where it can go. Like, and like, I'm a man of faith. So my faith in God is at a level that's such that I don't believe that anything is not possible. Literally, I'm of the opinion that why should I put any limit on what God can do through me? So I literally set my stall out and I was like, look, I'm going to do what I can. God's got the rest. As I've been saying this week, it's above me now. It's in God's hands. I'm going to just do what I can. So literally from the beginning, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put my all into this and see just how good I can get, because I'm competitive like that. So I didn't want to just do it. Like, it was a bit different to the football. The Saturday league, I appreciated that. I'm not trying to be no pro baller or anything like that. So it was what it was. But with the athletics, it was a bit different. I was kind of like, no, this is something that I actually have a bit of ability in. So I'm not going to, so it was a bit like, no, actually, I'm going to really try and see. So yeah, from the beginning, it was kind of like, I didn't really put any kind of limits or ceiling on myself. It was just, no, I want to learn the sport. I'd never been under any formal training. When I did it in school, I just show up and run and go home. You know what I mean? I wasn't like some other guys who maybe were part of athletics clubs and doing training and learning techniques and athletic drills and all that stuff. It was all foreign to me. So I've come now from a football background and I just want to learn. So I became a student of the sport straight away. And I was like, if I'm going to be good at this, I need to be a student too. So yes, I listen to my coach, but I go away, do my own research, figure out what will work for me, you know, really paying attention to my body and all these kind of things. So yeah, from the beginning, I think I just said to myself, I don't really know what this is going to be, but I don't want to leave any stone unturned. So let me just go all in and see. And by God's grace, we'll see where it goes. And obviously, it's been going well so far.
That's sick, man. You committed straight from the off.
Straight from the jump, literally. Straight from the jump. It weren't like, oh, let me see if, because you know, a lot of the time, people will kind of be like, all right, cool, like, it's an interesting one, because I'm in a sport, for instance, where ultimately I'm judged by the time that I run.
Yes.
How quickly can you run the 100 meters? That's going to be the ultimate judge of somebody who doesn't know anything about anything. Will be like, okay, but would you run though? And like, I might have like improved from like, say I started out running like 12 seconds and then I'm running 11 seconds. That's a sick improvement, right?
Yeah.
But somebody's going to see that and be like, well, Usain Bolt's world record is 9.58. You're running 11. You're dead. You're not good.
Can really go straight to Usain Bolt as a reference point.
But you know what I mean though? Somebody who don't know track and field, that's their reference. If they don't really know track like that,
right,
they don't know what they don't know what the levels in the UK is like or the levels in this country. So they're thinking, oh wait, I know that Usain Bolt fella. Yeah, he runs 9.58, and you're telling me you run 11 seconds. What?
And they're just they don't respect
exactly. So I'm saying a lot of people, I think they want to wait for that thing, like, okay, I've done this, now I'm gonna dedicate myself. But no, you gotta like we were talking about manifestation and stuff like that. Like, and like I said, I'm a man of faith. So I believed the things that I wanted to see before they were even a reality. Ooh. So as far as I was concerned, there is no reason why I can't be the greatest. Like, what's the actual what's it gonna cost me if I just say, yeah, I'm gonna be the best at this? What's that really gonna cost me? You know what I mean? Like, in my view, there's only upside. Like, why beat yourself already mentally? I don't think I can do this, or I'm probably just going to be decent, or there's a bunch of other people doing things, these young up and coming athletes, or I'm 26. People normally start athletics when they're da. Nah, so I was like, bro, from the jump, my mindset is going to be of a champion from the jump. Not
love that.
Let me wait until I achieve a little something, and then no. Let your mind be up there, and then your performance, by God's grace, will elevate to that level too. But if you're thinking down here, how are you expecting to be here when you're thinking and everything you're meditating on is here? As a man thinketh, so is he, is what the Bible says, right? So if you're thinking down here, you can never expect to be anything more than here. But from the jump, I'm like, well, I don't really know in it, so let's go, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I'm just up there like, yo, let's do it. And by God's grace, you elevate your mind there, and you can hopefully catch up with your level of performance. So yeah, that was it for me. I didn't have to wait for, okay, I've run this time, so that validates me. No, I'm at the end of the day, it's me v me. I'm competing against myself. So from the jump, it was just like, I want to be the best version of Eugene as possible. So if I did this in training last week, then I want to be doing the next level in training next week. And it was always like that for me, just little goals, just being better than the last training session, better than the last rep, better than the last race. And you just kept going like that, just keep going like that.
Bro, you're dropping gems, by the way. Gems. Bro, you know, when I listen back to this, I'm gonna keep that in mind about meditating at this level and going up there. It's important, man.
It's important, bro. It's important. I can't stress how much you can change things and how much you can impact like your life and stuff just from the mindset. It all begins here. Do you know what I'm trying to say? If you can't believe it, if you can't sort of imagine it or think it or dream it, then it's kind of hard to, you know, get to a stage where okay, how do I actually get there? If you don't even think something is possible, then like anybody who ever did anything great daydreamed.
Yeah.
You know, they thought, what if I could create this? What if I could do that? You know what I'm saying? Everybody who ever did anything great would have elevated their mindset to a level beyond where they were actually operating. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's mad because the last podcast that I did, I had one of my boys, Sense, on. He's a musician, and we were just talking about how people like Drake or like Kanye or Jay-Z, like if you listen to their discography, they were already putting themselves and mentally in the state of being where they are now in their raps from decades ago.
Yeah.
Like
and now look at them.
Exactly. And just how they like their mantra manifested over time and created the lifestyle and reality that they live in now. So it's, and now thinking about your journey, especially where people might consider, you know, jumping into athletics, like you said, late, or, you know, are not having a formal training before, or, you know, even just simple things like now man's working 9 to 5. And I'm like, you know, I'm a qualified professional. Do you know what I mean? And now you're stepping into a totally different place, and that's not like common. All those things could easily be barriers, but the fact that you just like, nah, I'm in, is it's very inspiring, man. And also I think it shows in your journey, like where you've gone, like, bro, you've run for England. That's mad. That's already mad. Alone,
and
mad.
Literally. And when I got that England call up, I said to myself, if for whatever reason I have to stop athletics today, mad. Like, you can't take away this England vest from me. I represented England. I can tell my daughter about that. Like, you can't take this away from me. It's done. So I said to myself at that point, obviously that was back in Feb 2020. Do you know what I mean? And like, I'm sure we'll touch on it later on. And just being at the cusp of like almost getting taken to Tokyo. It's just like, at that time I couldn't even see that either. But it's this whole athletics thing. It's a beautiful journey. When you, whether it's a sporting passion or whatever, but when you have a passion or you have a talent, something that you know has just come easy to you. You know, some people sometimes think, oh, what am I good at? There's something that comes easy to you. There's something that you just have a natural passion for or knack for. You see it, you're like, oh, something that lights you up. That's your thing. And when you put yourself into that thing, and when you operate in that arena where God intended for you to operate, because he put that inside of you, great things can happen. And whether it's a good or bad thing, it's going to teach you something. It's going to develop you in some way. You're going to add something to yourself, whether it is strength of character or wisdom, whatever it may be. It's going to help you out. So I can't encourage people enough. You know what I mean? This athletics thing has been a short journey thus far. I started in 2018. We're in 2021. But it's been, I've had ups and I've had downs in that short space of time, but I wouldn't change any of it. And I wouldn't, I don't regret my decision to sort of take up the sport or anything like that either.
Yeah, man. England, mad.
Bro,
it's crazy. But just to go back a bit, because we will touch on that again. I want to find out what it was like when you first, because obviously I imagine you trained for quite a while before entering your first official race. So tell me, what was the build up to competing again like? Because naturally there's probably going to be nerves, there's probably going to be some tension, because it's like, okay, like you said, you're coming to a point where you have to now show in a space of a few seconds pretty much that you're the guy. Or that or not even that you're the guy, but more, right, I'm on the journey, and this is going to be a milestone moment in the journey. So what was it like going into that experience?
Like obviously when I showed up at the track at that first, I think it was like back in September, October 2018. And I wouldn't compete for the first time until December, which was indoors. And then my first 100 meters would have been outdoor season in April in 2019. And athletes, man, we work hard, right? We do all of our work, or the big chunk of our work, in the winter. So, there isn't really much of an off season for athletes. They will get a couple of weeks, maybe sometimes, or maybe a month, but they pretty much work all year round. So it was getting acclimatized to all of the training and the techniques and the warm-ups and all these different things, and my body having to sort of look into physios and that to make sure that my body was sort of in good nick and stuff like that. Like it was interesting, because obviously now I'm like, okay, cool. Like my coach was all about business at the time. So it was like, all right, cool. Like, you've joined a club. All right, cool. We're training. Then cool. In December, we need to start looking at races. And I'm thinking, all right, like, so I'm going to be like a legit athlete. Like I'm going to be running against other people. And it was mad, because I remember my first block session, I was training with a really talented young girl. I think she was about 14, 15 at the time. And she was like over 10 meters. She was beating me out of blocks over 10 meters.
Oh, raw.
And my coach was kind of saying to me, like, yo, like, she's kind of matching you out of blocks. Like, what's going on, big man? And I'm like, I'm trying to master blocks. Because when you see people doing blocks on TV and that, it looks sick. But I'm just there, like, trying to figure it out and that. But my belief isn't wavering at this point. I'm like, no, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get better. I'm just going to keep practicing it. But I've got this young talented girl, like, but she's beating me out of blocks, or she's matching me out of blocks.
Putting you under pressure a little bit. Like, okay. I need to
So,
get a handle on this because
fam, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's like a month before I'm due to like do my first race. Because obviously where you do indoors, you don't really get that much time. You're training maybe like October, November, then bang, December's there. You got a race. So believe it or not, my first ever indoor race, I full started.
oh raw.
But it was an open meeting. So whereas the rules are what like you full start, you're done, you're gone. Like they changed that
Yes,
rule years ago. But that particular meeting, because of the profile of the meeting, I just got a warning. But like obviously I
right,
was a bit nervous. So I was just like, and then I
yeah,
went and it was a full start, but thankfully they didn't sort of disqualify me. So I did get to do the race and we went again and I ran and it was all good. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I remember like how I felt after that first run. I thought, right, like I ran like 7.03 in the 60 meters, which is it's not a bad time. And to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I didn't really know what a good or bad time was at that time.
I
Like
was just gonna
I didn't really
ask
know.
you what's a good time 60
Yeah, because
meters, would you
I
say?
didn't obviously being so new to the sport and stuff, like I knew what like the 60-meter world record was at the time, like
Right.
6.3 something. But obviously I know I ain't gonna be anywhere near that. So I wasn't even
Yeah.
thinking about that as a barometer. And then whereas I knew the 100-meter scene very well, I didn't really actually know the 60-meter scene domestically that well in terms of like
Mm.
what historically GB guys have done and stuff, that sort of thing. So when I ran 7.03, the next thing in my head was like, all right, in the final, I'm going to go sub 7.
Mm.
Like in the final, I'm going to run sub 7. And I did, I ran 6.97 in the final. And I remember being gassed because I didn't
Yeah.
really know what that meant, but there was other people there like, what, that's your first, like you've just started the sport and you're running these times in the 60. And they were the ones gassing me up saying, yo, this is mad. And like, you've run sub 7, like this, like 100 meters is going to be like this time converted. Da, 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 da. So they were the
Oh
ones
yeah,
telling
yeah.
me, like, this is what this means. I'm there like, oh, okay, cool. Like, all right, I'm not
Mm.
terrible then. I am. So the legend of me being fast is true. Then I am fast. I can start to have,
Mm.
so my self-confidence improved a little bit there. And I think I raced like a week later and then ended up running slightly quicker again. I think I ran 6.93 or whatever. But yeah, like again, at that point in time, I think that ranked me. I think my first season I was ranked like top 60 or top 50 in the country.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that wasn't
Wow.
setting the
In
world
the
alight. It wasn't.
country. Sorry, in the country. That's wait, sorry. That's mad. That's just from your first outing or for your first
Yeah,
few
so from
outings.
so my first few outings. So yeah, I think I finished 20. So that first season in the 60 meters, I can't remember exactly, but I think I finished ranked about top 60 somewhere.
Mm.
And then in the 100, I actually tore my hamstring, but I ended up ranked, I think top 50 or top 60 in 100 as well.
Mm.
And went to the British Outlaw Champs as well. In my first season, went out in the semis, but again I was there. So
Oh, I want to come on to that, bro. That was literally my next place to go. The British Championships in 2019. So what I think, because I remember when I remember when you posted it before, and
yeah,
obviously for this I went back and did a little research as well, just so I was clued up. And like just knowing that, because I saw what you wrote in a post, like that you got injured in April of that year with the championships happening in August, right? Of 2019. So how, because I do want to get into like the injury itself, but after it's like seemingly it not being an option for you, because I imagine at the time, especially for a sprinter, a hamstring injury is
yeah,
like if you broke your foot in football or broke your leg in
yeah.
football, like
No, that real.
similar, it's a
Yep.
similar injury which is so fundamental to actually like your sport and your craft. So you've recovered now and you're now like you're there and you're competing, and like, you know what's sick about the video that you posted? Yeah, it's that bro, that commentator's voice has been in my ear since
Steve
I've been a
Cram.
youth. I don't even know what
Yeah,
his name
trust
is, but
me,
I
Steve. His
know
name's
that
Steve Cram.
voice.
Yeah, so he's a GB, like he's a legend over like 1500 meters and like 800 meters and that, Steve Cram. So yeah, so
Yeah.
like the same as you, like I grew up on that guy's voice, and like it's actually even mad like getting introduced by him. But obviously, like you know what he said
Yeah. Oh man, but still, it's like what a moment, what a milestone.
Yeah, literally 100%. Like, and
Like,
to other somebody else, that might not even be a thing because they've been doing track and field or whatever. But for me, growing up, like you said, off the back of this guy's voice, watching other meets and that, I'm like, yo, Steve
yeah,
Cram's introducing me. Even though he said what he said, like, oh yeah, he said, and this is what I mean. He said, like, oh yeah, Eugene Amo-Dadzie, he's 27 now, getting on a bit, but running as quick as he ever had. And like, obviously, he didn't do his research. My name
yeah,
isn't Azam Jamili. My name isn't Zarnell Hughes. My name isn't CJ Ujar. Obviously all fantastic athletes and really cool guys. But the frustrating thing sometimes with these commentators and that is that you might have somebody who's got a story or somebody who's up and coming or whatever. But if you ain't the guys, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Then it's like, so yeah, he said what he said. And I remember that kind of stuck with me. Like, I was like, yo, like, this commentary wasn't, like, commentating like that, big man.
Like, sick that you commented on, like, you were commentating on me, but only that little bullet point. Like, what?
You know what I mean? And like, just incorrect information. Like, and just, like I said, I don't think he meant to dismiss me, but and then I made a point of it because I think it's one of those things that hold people back in life. Because like I said, when I made the decision to start track and field, I was 26. A lot of people start track and field when they're like 11, 10, 12. Like certain man, by the time they're 26 have been in the sport for like 10 years. You know what I mean? So it's a young man's game kind of thing. So, but it's one of those things where I wasn't going to let the fact that I was 26 or the fact that I was starting late or whatever discourage me. So when he said what he said on commentary about, oh, he's 27 now, he's getting on a bit. And it's just like, hold on a minute. Like, I've just started the sport and, we thank God I'm 29 now and I'm running faster than I was back then.
Got years to go, bro. Years to go. Years to go, man. But I mean, even taking all that into consideration, just to arrive at a stage like that is quite, I would say, just from the outside looking in, it's like, raw, this is sick. I do want to ask about the another side to it though. What does it feel like to perform when it's a live broadcast? And what nuances does that bring to how you're thinking about things, your preparation? Like, does it even have an effect? I would imagine there would be an element of you thinking, okay, I'm doing this live broadcast. Like, there's zero hiding here. I got my surname on the shirt. Like I got
the family
run.
name is riding on this performance, but I got to do the name proud. You know what? For me personally, I feel like it brings out more of a beast in me. Because I'm like, yo, this is gonna be on TV. Like, I'm excited. It's giving me that nice, excitable energy that I need on the day for the adrenaline and stuff. So for me personally, I get excited by it. So for instance, this year where BBC made a decision not to televise the trials, I'm like, big man, this is the Tokyo 2020 Olympic trials, British champs. And this is the year. Yeah. This is the year that you want to decide you don't want to put it on BBC. Which was jarring, but British Athletics did a phenomenal job putting it on YouTube, streaming it and all that jazz. But yeah, so for me, it was like, yo, this is going to be televised, it's going to be live. So it kind of actually got me to think, no, I can't be embarrassing myself or the family name on TV. So and I know that people's going to be watching now because I'm telling people, oh, it's going to be on BBC, it's going to be on BBC.
Yeah.
And people are like, okay, cool, we're going to tune in then. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it's one thing that my boys and my family and that tuning in, I know they're supporting me. But then other people who it's a bit more casual for them, and I think, oh, okay, you're an athlete, you're going to be on TV, I'm going to watch you then. And then if I just go in there and fun with them, like, oh, okay, you're not really a sprinter, though, are you? Like, you came last, you're heat, and you went home straight away. So it kind of adds a bit of pressure. But again, I don't take it as pressure. I take it as an opportunity to go out there and show, what I'm capable of, kind of thing. So yeah, for me, it gives me that kind of excitable kind of energy. Like, okay, cool, let's go. Like, gonna be on TV. Like, let's do this.
And I'm guessing there's obviously, like you said before, that your mindset and your mantra, you were thinking like a champion anyway. Like that was
Yeah.
stapled in. Was that a moment of feeling? Because I would say it's like a feeling of, yeah, like man's arrived now. Like again, another milestone. Like, yeah, I've arrived now. I'm in that process. I'm in the flow. Like, yeah, we're moving in that direction.
I couldn't ignore the fact that this was my first season and I had qualified to go to the British Championships, which were doubling up as the world trials for the Doha 2019 World Championships. I couldn't ignore the fact that even though I had just started, with the injury, I had got myself in a position to be able to go to that event. And not only, I wasn't just a number. Yes, I went out in the semi-final, but on paper in my heat, I should have gone out. I came second in my heat, qualified for the semi, and I was actually the fourth fastest qualifier from the semis, from the heats at that champs. Obviously, the top 8 guys, they used to do this thing where the top 8 guys got brought in at the semi-final stage. So minus the top 8, but at the stage, once all the heats were run, I was the 4th fastest from the heats. Bearing in mind it was my first season, and I can't ignore these things. And then in the semi itself, on paper, I think I was the slowest in the semi on paper. I had Adam Jamili. Like I said, Adam Jamili is younger than me. He's younger than me, but again, he's a name that I had been watching from like London 2012 when he burst onto the scene, and he was this guy who switched from football and was doing track, and he'd run like sub 20 to 200 and sub 10 in the 100. And it was like, yo. So Adam Jamili was in my I remember seeing my semi. My coach was like, all right, your semi is a bit mad. And then I went to see the board, and I see Adam Jamili, I see Harry AA, who again, another name, Harry A. Kizariti, another name who I've grown up watching. And I'm thinking, yo, this is mad. Like I got some real sprinters in my heat, in my semi. Yeah. And I think on paper I was the slowest. So again, paper says I should have come last in that heat. I came 5th in that do you know what I mean? In that semi-final. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So the only people that beat me were Jamili, Harry AA, Andy Robertson, another guy who consistently top 8, top 10 sprint in the UK, has represented GB. So the only people that beat me were seasoned guys, and another guy who's been like an England champion as well. So the only people who beat me were like bona fide top 20 guys. Like, and then the guys that were behind me were all quicker than me on paper, but the race was kind of like the top guys, then like me, and then them. So it's not like I just beat them. Like there was a bit of a distance as well. So again,
first season, that's incredible.
Yeah, first season. So I get a little bit of confidence from that. I'm like, okay, like, God, this talent you've given me is a bit mad. Let me just keep dedicating myself to it, and I'll leave the rest to you, you know? So for sure, like I got a little bit of a like, okay, not that I've arrived or anything like that, because I always have that belief anyway, but it's more like, okay, like it's just adding a little bit of self-belief, a little bit of confidence that, like you said, I had already felt like I was believing at that level. And now, okay, my level of performance had arrived. So now what do? We elevate our mindset even more. And by God's grace, the same thing will just keep happening. You elevate your mind, your performance comes. You elevate your mind, your performance comes by the grace of God. So that was kind of like every single time I achieved something, every single time somebody said to me, yo, Eugene, like this is your first season, what you're doing is mad, like because I didn't know, like I'm new to this, but I don't really know. I don't know what's good or what's bad. I don't know if doing what I did in my first season is considered good, or if that's just what anybody was gonna do, you know? So it was the people around me that's telling me, yo, and like other athletes who like I went to school with and they'd taken up the sport and been doing it, and they're messaging me saying, bro, this is mad what you're doing, kind of thing. So you know what I mean? I'm taking obviously encouragement from that.
Definitely, man. And I guess what's really good about that field is the numbers are there, innit? Like the numbers are there, so you can actually go, well, yeah, like in the arena, in this setting, this is the number I hit. This is where it measures against everyone, and you can say
everyone else.
It's a really good way to measure like your progress, and it's like cold hard facts, like it's there.
Yeah, no, it's true, and that's what it is. That's the beauty of athletics, isn't it? It's everything is just matter of fact, isn't it? And the thing is, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because sometimes if you're not hitting the level that somebody thinks you need to hit for whatever reason, then it's like you might take that as, oh, I'm not any good then. That means I'm not as good as I think I am.
And I wanted to come on to the dark side of that, because there is then, I guess, the pressure, because regardless of what you've done over weeks, over months, over years, like I always remember, not necessarily the names, but I always remember those moments where I would see somebody performing at the Olympics and they like have a catastrophic session, and the amount of how distraught and how like upsetting, or how upset they are, and how like crushing it is for those people in the moment where they arrive at the Olympics and it doesn't work out, and all those months and weeks and years of working hard and building up to the moment haven't quite manifested in anything. And I imagine when you're running, especially 60 and 100 meters, you know, it's quick, like it started and it's gone, like it started and it's done. And knowing that is where your performance is measured, like everything else that's happened before, leading up to that time, isn't as important as that small, like minuscule window. So how do you mentally prepare for that? Because it's in a lot of our lives, just in general, for most people, we're usually assessed at specific intervals and for like longer periods of time, not in such a short window for most humans. So for that to be your thing and to be assessed in that short window, how do you prepare for that?
For me, I judge myself off. I don't judge myself off the times I run. And I know that sounds crazy because I'm a sprinter and ultimately I'm getting judged for that. But externally, that's what I'm getting judged by. But for me personally, I don't judge myself off the back of the times I run. I judge myself off the back of, okay, my coach, when I first joined my new coach this season, there were certain things that we said straight away we needed to work on. I judge myself on, okay, if I'm looking at my training videos from October and my training videos from February, I'm looking at my training videos from Feb and my training videos from April, I'm looking at my training videos from April, my training videos from now. Those things that my coach spoke to me about, can I see them improving? Yes, great. The posture you talk about, oh, you need to be in this position, you need to be doing this, etc. Okay, can I see that progression from when I first started to now? Yes, cool. That's what I'm judging myself on. I'm judging myself off of that growth in my process, and with the belief that by the grace of God, when at some point, the performance, that small thing, will also show what I know has been happening in my process and behind the scenes. So I can't judge myself off the times. For instance, when I started this season, me and my coach had conversations after I ran 6.6 in the 60 meters, and there was all this noise about, oh, that means you could end up running like 10.2 in 100 meters and stuff. At that point, that's just potential. Okay, you could do this. And I'd spoke to my coach, and so my coach had said to me, yeah, I think you could do this. I think you could do that. But until you do it, it's just something, you know? So for me personally, if I was going to judge myself solely off times, when I opened up my season this year, obviously I'd come off two hamstring tears last season, and there were so many different factors, COVID, all this kind of thing. But the way I'm built, you start to kind of believe a little bit of that. People say you're capable of doing this. The time, my first race I ran this season, I ran 10:54, which was a PB.
Yeah.
Just because my PB was 10:55 coming into the season.
That's quick, man.
So it was a PB, but when I'd be lying if I said a part of me wasn't slightly disappointed when I saw the clock, even though that was technically faster than I've ever run before.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about if I was just going to judge myself off times, but I ran 10:55 in 2019 and it's in 2021 that you're telling me I'm running 10:54? Nah, man, that's dead. Like, you know what I mean? I'm going to start beating myself up. I'm going to start saying, this coaching switch I made is pointless. Why did I switch coaches? Might as well have been with my old coach, you know? Like, all of a sudden, if I'm going to judge myself off just that one small thing, then I'm finished, because it's going to change my perception of everything else that I've done. So for me, I can't. So I made a decision, even though I was slightly disappointed. I also said to myself before that whatever I run today, I ran 10:54 in the heat and I ran 10:55 in the final. I said, whatever I run today, it's irrelevant. This is my first race. I didn't race at all outdoors in 2020. So I haven't actually done the 100 meters for almost 2 years. So I'm not going to judge myself off of anything other than let me get through healthy. By God's grace, let me do these 2 races, get home healthy, then let's go after that. And then my very next meeting, I ran 10:37 and 10:25, which really put me up there. Like, ranked top 5 in the country, ranked top 15 in Europe. Like, I think I'm currently ranked.
Please let them know, brother. Let them know. I think I'm
ranked 100. I know this sounds mad, but I'm ranked 130 something in the world. Obviously, we got some work to do on a world stage, but in terms of Europe and in domestically, I'm up there. So, but if I had judged myself just off that first meet of the 10:5, then who knows if I would have mentally been able to put myself in a position to then run 10:25 all time 61. So all GB runners ever, I'm 61. If we want to talk about Ghana, of all Ghanaian runners ever, I'm top. I think I'm 16 or 15 or maybe even higher than that. So,
that's so lit.
Oh, God is good.
That's so lit, man.
If I let that 10:55 of just judging myself just off my time, then I wouldn't maybe have been ready to receive that next blessing. So for me, I can't judge myself just off that, just off the times. I know that ultimately I'm an athlete. People are, oh, well, what do you run in 100 meters though? I know that. But for me, I judge myself off a completely different thing. So when I run fast, thank God, but I'm already happy because I can run the 100 meters in less strides than I did last year. I can run the 60 in less strides. You know what I mean? So I'm judging myself off a completely different thing to what other people are judging me off my times, but I'm judging myself on something else. So running the times is just the bonus.
Fam, I'm honored to be speaking to one of the fastest Ghanaians to ever live.
Amen. Amen.
I'm honored. Even as a Nigerian, I have to say, I'm honored, bro. Jokes aside though, I think what you're saying can be really valuable for people listening, because I think if I like relate what you're saying just in a general level, the way you judge yourself and the way you measure yourself is against your process and against like what you're like how you're applying yourself over the long period of time, rather than the moments that most people look at. Your thing is, if I'm practicing the right way, if I'm applying myself the right way, if I'm dedicating myself in the right areas in the way that I know to be best for me, then everything else will align. Like, you have the faith, like I can feel it. You have the faith that once I do that, I leave it in God's hands and everything else will align. But as long as I am applying myself here, that's what I need to measure myself at. And then it means you don't need to attach too much to the time and then other people's opinions based on the time, because your whole value system is based on what am I applying myself to and what am I working on, which is healthy, man. Stops you getting caught in.
That's it. I mean, some people will be built completely different, and they'll be able to deal with that more sort of harsher judging system. But for me, I think if you're going to fixate just on the result, then a lot of people just wouldn't start anything. Do you know what I mean? If you're just going to fix it on the result, you know what I mean? Because there's always going to be somebody who's better than you, somebody who's faster than you, so if you're just going to fixate on the result alone, I just think, nah, man, you've got, and like I said, I think you summed that up perfectly with regards to placing my value system and what I'm ultimately, putting my confidence in on the process and trusting by God's grace that provided I do that, then the performance level, the achievement, the milestone, the whatever else, will come at the right time when it's time.
Yeah, it takes a lot of like belief and faith to do that, because a lot of, I guess, in yourself, because a lot of the time you know, a lot of us can fall victim. Like I've definitely done it a lot myself, and I'm sure some people listening have too, where you place it outside and you're not focusing on, like what you were saying earlier, you versus you. Have I improved that thing that I do here? And have I improved, like, coming out of the blocks, or like when I'm going into the last 20 meters? I'm just paraphrasing. I don't know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah,
about,
no,
but like
yeah,
those little technical
that's
bits,
it.
like, am I doing the thing that I wanted to work on there? Okay, brilliant. And not focusing on that external time that everyone else is focused on. Requires a lot of faith and belief in oneself. And I think another moment which I'm sure required belief and faith was when you got the hamstring injury in 2019, because I want to go back to that. Because recovering from an injury, I think when I was younger, like, you know, when you hear footballers get injured, I think I just had a thing of, like, you know, Football Manager or FIFA, like, right, they're back in a month or 2 months or like 6 weeks, and you just feel, right, just rest up for 6 weeks and then you're back again, you know. You know, like that. But I think as I've got older, I've realized that, oh shit, especially as an athlete or as a sports person, like, recovering from an injury requires a lot. And I think especially for or I'd imagine especially for an athlete, you have to change up your routine, I imagine, drastically, and that can be really unsettling. And then there's all the doubts and fears, like, like, you know, if this, how is this going to recover? Is it going to pop up again? Like all the things that come off the back of getting injured, like all the thoughts and things, like where it could go. So how was that process for you? Like, when you got injured, what was where did you go when you got injured?
It was tough. Like, I think of myself as a resilient person mentally, and because I have such big faith in God, that most situation scenarios, whether they good or bad, you know, I trust that I'm going to come out of them on the right side. But it was tough. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I struggled. I went through a period of just like eating whatever. Like, I was just like, you know what, well, I'm not training right now, so let me just enjoy myself, start so I had more cheat days, more cheat meals, and just snacking and stuff like that. Like, I went through a period of time where I was, to be honest with you, I was feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, right, like, I haven't even been in the sport long. It's my first season and my hamstring's torn. And like, there was all this buzz and hype. And I guess I'd started to believe that, okay, I might run something. You know what I mean? Like, my coach was thinking I was going to run a certain time in the next race, and I was doing too much in training. I guess that's inexperience and stuff. And obviously the hamstring went, and it was tough. Honestly, I spent a lot of, because that athletics was kind of like my, you know, you got work and you got all these things. So athletics was like it was like my peace. It was that place where, like, I can be the most authentic version of me through my expression of like running and track and field. So when I tore my hamstring, it was tough. Honestly, it was like asking God, like, why has this happened? Like, what is going on? Like, why has this happened at this time? Because I thought, I'm not gonna lie to you, I cried. Like, it was so crazy.
Understandably.
This is a sport I've just started, so it's not like I've been doing it for a long time. It's not like there's a world champs and Olympics or anything at stake for me, but at that time or whatever. But I honestly, I hit the floor, I beat the track, and I cried, and I was just like, no, like, not now, like, no, because I thought my season was done. So I'm thinking I've just taken up the sport, my hamstring's torn, so that's it. This season's done. Like, little did I know I'd end up getting to the semi-final of the British Champs later that year, but I couldn't see that at that point. So all of these things I've been saying, like, I'm human too. So my level of faith had dropped, my level of self-belief had dropped, everything had dropped, and I really needed my missus, like my wife. Shout out to my wife, because she really held me up in that time. You know, my support system really held me up and said, look, bro, you'll come back, like, you're strong, you know, you'll come back from this. But it was tough. Honestly, it was really, really hard. I was just like, yo, like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And I did that for a couple of weeks. And then sort of the faith came back in, and it was like, yo, okay, cool. Like, what can I do to speed this up then? What can I do to get over this injury? So it's like talking to people, okay, what do I need to be doing therapy wise, rehab? What do I need to be doing? What do sprinters do? And then I started getting back on point. And then just being patient. Like I remember during the injury, I was doing too much, tried to come back too soon, and it opened up again a little bit. And I was like, oh no,
that must be
like,
so...
I was like, no, like, come on, like,
Nah.
I've rested it. I've done what people have told me to do, because sometimes you can do everything everyone tells you to do and things still go wrong. So I was just like, no, like, you're not being serious. Like, this has happened again. Thankfully, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. But again, it's another delay. So I was meant to come back in June. And then now I ended up coming back in July. And then obviously I remember my first race out, ran a big PB because I'd run 10:9 in April, tore my hamstring, and then I came back and ran 10:55. And like in that moment, I was so happy. Like I looked amazing for 60 meters, and then I looked awful for 40 meters. Like I was out, and then they just came back on me. I was in first, and I ended up finishing third. But that wasn't the story. Like the story was I'd just come back and run that time. But mate, it was tough because with an injury, there's the physical side. It hurt for one.
Yeah.
But then the mental side, like, can I trust my body?
Yeah.
Like, because sprinting, like, I need my hammy. So I remember I went to Algarve with my missus late June, and that was kind of like I turned it into like a warm weather camp. So I was out enjoying life with my missus, but then I was like, oh babe, can I like go to the local athletics track and like do some training too? And she was like, yeah, it's calm. Yeah. So my coach sent me some sessions. So that was the first time I put a bit of speed in since the tear in April. And I remember doing the session, and the last rep I did, it felt like it opened up a bit. And I was meant to be racing in like 2 weeks in July. So I was like, oh my God, what's going on? So I remember going to get ice from the local shop in Algarve, and I'm putting ice. I'm in Algarve enjoying life.
Oh my God.
On my leg, like, I'm like, nah. And then thankfully, again, it recovered, is okay. And like I said, I came out and raced, but it sticks with you. You get any little any little tweak in your hand, any little feeling you have in that area. Oh, is my hamstring okay? Is it going to tear again? Is it going to tear again? I mean,
notice it.
So even after I was competing, it took me a while to get over the mental scar of that feeling when you're just flying, and then it's like someone shoots you in the back of the leg and you're on the floor. So even though the injury happened in April, I didn't actually probably get over it until the season was done and I actually got to the end of the season. And it was like, okay, it didn't tear. Little did I know I was going to tear it again the next year, but you know.
Yeah. How was it? Did it feel different the second time? Like, does it feel different in how you approach it? Yeah. How you approach recovering?
One thing that, so having tore it, so I tore my right hamstring in 2019, then I tore the left one twice in 2020. But the experience of having torn it in 2019, all of that stuff I did for the first 2 weeks, I already knew I didn't need to be doing that. And like, I knew exactly what I needed to start doing straight away. You know what I mean? Like, so having had that experience, the mental fortitude and the resilience that I had, and also the faith, God brought me through that one, I performed well. So God can also bring me through this one to perform well. So yeah, all of that stuff for sure, it helped. Like, no injury is ever easy, but having experienced it before, I just said to myself, okay, let me use the tools that I learned mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually, and bring that into this injury, and it will get me through this one. You know, and I did all that stuff, and I made a few mistakes along the way, and you know, I think it was one of those things where the second tear was a scenario where I've been saying this a lot recently, where people should not, when you're in a sow season, when you're in a season where you're meant to be sowing seed, you shouldn't try and reap. Your reaping season will come, but do not try and reap when you're in a sow season. And you need to recognize when you're in a sow season, when you're in a season where you need to put in work, when you need to make investments. You're going to get your interest and your dividends later on, but you need to recognize when you're in a season. You can't try and claim interest and dividends and reaping fruits when you've not sown. You know what I'm trying to say? So I was in a season in 2020 where lockdown happened and my training completely changed. And I did not appreciate fully how that would impact my body. So I was running well. And I was thinking, 2020 has provided a unique opportunity to maybe go British champs and win a medal, because the guys that are normally going to be there aren't going to be there because it's COVID and people have chosen just not to compete. So we had this weird season where people became British champs that maybe wouldn't ever become a British champ ever again. So I'm forcing things. I'm in a so season, but I'm thinking, nah, I'm going to go champs and start claiming victories that aren't meant for me right now. And it was in that I re-tore the same hamstring, because I tore my hamstring 5 weeks before, and I went to go race after hamstring tear, 5 weeks. I raced, I made it to 40, I made it to the 40-meter mark, and the hamstring tore again. And it was like, in that moment, I was like, okay.
You were trying to rush the process.
I was trying to rush the process. I know what's happened here. So I took that one. That was the calmest I've ever taken like bad news, because I already knew what I was doing. I already knew the mistake that I had made. So it was like, you know what, cool. Like, God, let me stop trying to rush things. Let me take my time with it. You know what I mean? And I was trying to go and grab a medal at that champs again, by God's grace. This year, I went to the 2021 British Champs Olympic trials, and I grabbed the silver medal. So, you know what I mean? Like, everything has its time. Everything has its time. You've just got to be patient, trust your process, trust God, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I did see that actually on your athletics profile. Silver in the,
I've been
in the
posting
100
so
meters.
many. I've been posting it all over the place. I'm like, yo, listen, I just grabbed the silver medal at the British Championships, aka the Olympic trials for Tokyo 2021. I got second. I'm the second, obviously not in terms of times. I'm not the second fastest in the UK. But when you look at the final of the championships, everybody's there. It weren't like the COVID year where people wasn't there. Everybody was there. And by God's grace, I elevated my level of performance. I got to that final. And when I got to that final, I stayed locked in and I got a silver medal. You know what I mean? And look, people thought things would happen off the back of that silver medal that haven't happened. It doesn't change how I feel about the silver medal. It doesn't change my belief and trust in God. God is still good. And again, it goes back to the same thing I just said about trying to reap in your sow season. Maybe this season was about me sowing, okay, Eugene Amo-Dadzie, this is a guy we need to look out for. Maybe the 2022 season is my season to get that GB vest finally, you know? Maybe 2023, maybe 2024 Paris Olympics. But either way, I'm not going to I was naturally disappointed to get told that I wouldn't be going to Tokyo because of my inexperience.
So what? Let's talk about that, because I saw that recently actually. Because I know you posted about it recently. So obviously you've just got a silver medal at the British Championships. Like that's sick in and of itself.
In and of itself, that's it.
Considering you only started 3 years ago, like fully going at it, that you've reached that level.
Yeah, I think I've only run 100 meters 17 times. So the final was my 17th 100-meter race. And I've raced 9 times this season. Bearing in mind, prior to this season, I'd only raced 8 times over the 100 in total over the 2020, obviously because of COVID, but over the 2019 and 2020 seasons, I've only run the 100 meters 8 times. So I've run 100 meters more this season than I've run it at all, but I still haven't run 100 meters that often, you know? So yeah.
And yeah, so obviously there's I imagine a lot of excitement. You're gassed that you've got a medal.
I still am.
So
I'm waiting for it to come through the post.
With the Olympics, so you find out the news that you're not going, which I can imagine is hard to take. It's hard to take. Like Olympics, everyone knows about the Olympics. Like it's such a huge
Olympian, you know,
event and a huge like moment. So how did you find out, and how are you viewing it like now? Where are you with it?
Look, now I'm completely at peace with it. Like I've had a tremendous amount of support and encouragement for people. People sort of best intentions, you should have gone, you should have been selected, and and you have to be in a place where you obviously, people are coming from a good place, but you have to phase that out. You can't start to listen to what everybody else is saying, because then you now start to think that you have like a rightful claim over anything and everyone else to something. At the end of the day, nothing is promised to anybody as far as I'm concerned. Everything is a gift from God. So regardless of the decision, like, I didn't want to believe too much. Like, I didn't want to get too wrapped into what people were saying to me. But it was like, obviously I thank everybody who's sort of reached out and said, yo, like, I'm really upset for you and stuff. But yeah, so obviously day after, because usually the selection policy obviously is there for the individual event. So in order to go for the individual event, it's very black and white. You run the standard, you come top 2 at trials, that guarantees you a spot. So obviously I did 50% of that equation. Now the other half would have been to run 10:05, but obviously my PB being 10:25, I hadn't done that. So I was never expecting to get taken for the individual event. No qualms, no issues. For the relay though, the relay, in order to get selected for the relay, you don't have to run the standard, and it's a little bit more of a discretionary decision rather than you've run a time, so you get selected. But obviously, the time you've run and the form you're in will be one of the factors that play a part in who they select for relays. The reason that I was given was that my relay inexperience, meant that although they were impressed and everything like that and all that good stuff, they felt that putting me into an Olympic Games setting would be they deemed that too big a risk, and therefore that was the reason that I was given with regards to why I was not selected to go to Tokyo. So I found that out the night before the initial Tokyo Olympic squad was announced. Since there's been an addition to the relay squad, that wasn't me, obviously. Again, look, I'm super happy for everyone that's going. And I have not a personal relationship, but I've got a little bit of a like personal relationship with some of the guys that are going, and I'm obviously happy for them. And look, I'm never gonna take somebody else's flower, so that's not even a thing. So yeah, look, I accept their decision, and I'm at peace with their decision because I know that God's got better things for me in store. If it wasn't now, then there's other things that I'll go on to do. So I'm not gonna let not getting selected now make me think, oh, like, I'm still super excited and gassed for my silver medal. So, oh, I didn't get selected, so I should now start looking at my silver medal and be like, oh, what's the point of getting this? No, I'm still gassed. I've still got something to show my daughter. You know, when she's a little bit older, I can show her, yo, you know, your daddy, and hopefully I will go on to do even better things. But I could be like, yo, this was the start for me, babe. Like, you know, dad did this, dad did that. So for me, I'm still super, super gassed that I was able to achieve that. And look, even being in the converse, like, even I don't know how it was done. I don't know if my name got brought up by somebody. I was like, yeah, Eugene Amo-Dadzie, he's an interesting athlete. He's done this, he's done, like, even being in that conversation about becoming an Olympian is mad. You know what I'm trying to say? So somebody might say, oh no, but they didn't pick you though, so why are you happy? But no, I still have to take a level of happiness and pride from the fact that I was even in the conversation. The fact that they even had to reach out to me and tell me, look, we're impressed, but we just think it's too big a risk. So look, they've made their decision how they've made a decision. I said to myself, I wasn't going to get into a situation where I was going to start, you know, God fights my battles for me. So I said to myself, I'm not going to get into a situation I'm going to start trying to do appeals and all these kind of things and And look, I've got good people around me, my wife, my coach, who's been in the game and stuff like that. So I spoke to my coach, and he kind of really laid things out for me with regards to, like, look, if it was based off of speed, I think you should be there. But, you know, sometimes there's a lot of different things that go into it. The relay is kind of viewed as more of a team sport. So sometimes they view it a bit differently. And obviously they've got guys that I guess have done the job in previous settings. So they can trust them, and they're obviously on the relay fund. So look, there's so many different things that go into it. Some people might call it politics, whatever, you know. I can't get involved in that. I just have to keep my head down, keep trusting my team, trusting God, and doing what I'm doing. And that's the approach I'm taking. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. Like, it was great to even be in that convo, but look, bruv, the marathon continues. We're still working. Yeah, man. We're still doing what we need to do. We're still hopefully going to be in positions to be selected for future GB teams. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I think it's it comes back to what you were saying earlier about rushing the process. This is just another part where you're gonna have to like be patient and keep working, and the opportunities will come. Like I'm sure the opportunities will come. And even just a lesson for everyone, myself and all people listening included, yeah, it's really important to be patient and not try and, I guess, transact on everything immediately, because it doesn't work that way. Like you just can't, it just doesn't work. And it comes to us in different ways. Like for you were trying to get the medal for the British Championships, which you eventually got, but you had to wait, and you got a torn hamstring for trying to rush it. It's like two. You know what I
mean? So
yeah, it's important. But I guess you did have a call up which did come into fruition for the England athletic squad, and that was, I believe, earlier towards the beginning of 2020, right?
Yeah, so that's 2020. So I represented England over the 60 meters in Vienna. So it was a sick trip. Went out there with the missus. My friends came out there and surprised me. It was mad. I was like, "Yo, this is crazy!" And I'm out there like, "Yo, I got England vest. I'm representing. I'm doing a meet abroad. Like, this is crazy." Like, and I actually had an opportunity. To represent England again in a relay earlier this season, but it didn't work with my training plan. So I actually had to turn it down. But
wow. Man's turning down England. Man's turning down England call-ups now, yeah?
The thing is, that's another message, because how dedicated are you to your process? Sometimes something comes along and it's like, oh, it's a little carrot or something that seems really, really like a good opportunity. But if it's going to have a detrimental impact to your process, what decision are you making? Are you going to take that momentary kind of achievement or joy and disrupt your season plan? Or are you going to say, you know what, this is a sick opportunity, but it just doesn't fit into my work and my plan right now, so I have to continue with my process? And that was a decision that we made. Like, left to me alone, I would have done it because I was like, this is sick. But then again, this is what I mean about having good people around me. I spoke to the missus, I spoke to my coach, and they was like, look, just for relay's sake, I don't think it's worth disrupting our plan for what we want to do this season. And my next race was the race when I ran my PB. And who knows if I would have been in the physical condition to do that had I gone to it was a cold day that day, that particular meeting. It was the Loughborough International. It was like, it was GB versus Scotland versus Wales versus, I can't remember the other. But yeah, so versus Loughborough students, actually, because it's their meet. So yeah, so who knows if I had done that meet, it was a cold day. Some other athletes unfortunately got injured at that meet because it wasn't the best day for sprinters because it was cold. You know, like who knows what impact that would have had on me physically, that when I then went to the race where I PB'd, would I have PB'd, you know? So that's the thing. We made that decision and we believe it was the right decision. And you know, but again, it was nice to be in these conversations and nice to be on England Athletics' radar. Obviously, I'm trying to get onto British Athletics' radar as well, but it's nice to be on England Athletics' radar for sure. And there's further opportunities for England Athletics later on this summer that hopefully I can put myself firmly, you know, in the frame for being selected for them again as well.
Yeah, man, it's sick, man. Just like being called up for England, like, how does it work? What happens? Do you just get a phone call and they're just like, yo? So basically, what happens?
So obviously, I had just done a indoor meet. It's the London Games, and they hold it in January at Lee Valley, and I performed pretty well there. So I think I ran 2 PBs that day. So I'm just chilling at work, and I just see a number coming. And normally I don't answer like unknown numbers, but you know, for whatever reason, I answered that call. So I pick up now. And then the ladies on the phone like, oh yeah, hi, it's so-and-so from England Athletics. So my ears kind of prick up a bit.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she's like, oh yeah, you know, we saw the performances over the weekend. You know, you did really well. We've got some opportunities across Europe coming up, and you know, we want to consider you for selection. And I was just like, yo, this is mad. Like, there was other people that was considering, but it was like, we want to know if you're going to be available so we can deliberate and decide who's going to get selected for these meets. So there was one in like where was it? Was it Poland or Slovakia? There was one in Vienna. There was one somewhere else. So there was going to be a few meetings that there was going to be picking runners for.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, look, put my name in a hat. Like, I said to the lady, like, even getting this call is mad. Like, and I was gassed. So that was it.
Bro,
It was
you
cool.
got to turn that out of office off on right there and then.
Yeah,
I'm
so
done for the day.
down.
My head's too gone now. I can't
gone.
work.
Bro, so I put the phone down. I called the missus. Like, yo, we need to pray. England Athletics just call me. They're trying to select for runners. Like, I don't know how it's going to fly, but even being in a conversation, but come on, let's pray. So cool, put the phone down. Then I get a call back later on that day saying that they decided to select me. Then I get the email confirmations through the flight manifest to go Vienna, all that jazz. Man. I go to my FD and I've got a super supportive work situation. So I go to my FD, I'm like, yo, this is the situation. Like, he was like, don't be silly, bro. Like, you got the day off, go to Vienna, like, it's calm.
Yeah.
So just like that, like, I got my England vest and I was like, yo, this is mad. And obviously I went to Vienna and I actually PB'd at that meet as well. You know, so I really gave a good account of myself as well.
You won a race as well, right?
Yes, I won my heat. Yeah, I won my heat. And then in the final, I came second to the guy I mentioned earlier, Andy Robertson, who had also been selected to represent in the other vest. So, but I pushed him to one of his fastest times in like, up to that point, he hadn't run that quick. And then I pushed him to like run. And I remember him saying to me afterwards that like me and him get on really well. We always show each other love. Like when we race against each other, even British Champs final, he came fourth, but he was happy for me. You know, he came over, he gave me a hug and stuff. So me and him always show each other love. And I remember him saying to me afterwards, like, "Bro, like you got out, like you really pushed me," and that was encouraging for me. So yeah, man, that whole England thing is like still one of those things that's like, even if I had to stop today, just off the back of that experience, Mom, look at me, I made it. Like,
yeah, bro. It's mad inspiring, man. Trust me. From knowing that you just started when you were 26, it's like such a sick story, man. I feel like a lot of people who are feeling like they're too old to do something or too late to do something will take a lot of, like, if they learn about what your process and what your journey has been, they'll take a lot of inspiration from that, man. For real.
Thank God, I really hope so, man, because fam, you can't let things like age and whatever hold us back, man. I mean, people have done great things at old ages, and when they're supposedly not necessarily the best fit for something or whatever, people have done great things. So, you know.
Yeah, man. Try and reduce them limiting beliefs. That's the real message.
That's it.
So we're coming towards the end of the podcast, bro, and I still got a couple questions that I really, really want to ask you. So the first one is something which I think a lot of people who are doing things in the world can relate to, and that's about the hard work that goes unseen. So like for me, like before even like doing a podcast or making content or doing anything like that, I guess I used to look at it and think, oh yeah, you know, I could do that. Like, yeah, like doesn't seem too mad. But when you step in and you realize that like editing, formatting, like sound, like even like, so recently I started making a little bit of music here and there.
Yeah, no, I see it. It's sick though. I rate it. When you did your little battle with like Neji.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I was like, you lot are sick, man. This is actually very funny, man. Yeah. The way you lot made it like believable that like you had beef or something, and you lot like you didn't pull punches with each other as well. Like you lot went in on each other. I was like, like, and these lot boys, like, what's going on? Like, these men are sending for each other a bit hard here.
I'm actually seeing him later on today, you know.
Yeah, bro. I thought what you lot did was sick, man. Like, because you made it like believable. Like somebody who didn't know you lot went uni together and that could have legit pre that for who are these guys that just have beef with each other? Like, I thought it was sick, man.
Yeah, you can check out my Instagram. Anyone listening, if you want to see, just scroll down. There's a couple little diss tracks there. But it's all love, man. Love to Neji. It was I think it was like peak lockdown time, so it was entertaining for everyone as well. Yeah. But through that process of just like even recording music and realizing, like my cadence is really important, and like in a take, it's so easy to make a mistake, which then means you have to do a verse again. And then even then, your delivery can sometimes be like I'm adding too much bass or my volume's too high. So now the sound doesn't sound good. And actually, I had to learn how to like use my voice. It sounds like a weird thing, but just little things like that, like learning that I had to learn a technique and learning that there is a process to this element, and it's not just okay, I can just do it and I'm in and it's done. So what are the tough things that you have in your process that no one sees? And I think especially accounting for like life as well, because obviously with a lot of sports people, like the elites are generally training, like they're dedicating their complete lives to training. For someone like you, you're still, you know, working in a corporate world as well. Like you've got a missus, you've got kids, like you've got a kid. Like how do you manage it amongst that as well? What are the things that people aren't seeing, bro?
And it is challenging. Like, you know, like the sleepless nights. I got a newborn, so I don't remember the last time. Like, thankfully, my missus blessed me over the championship weekend. I was actually in Manchester by myself. Like, she wasn't able to make the trip, so I got some full night's sleep. But other than that, since she's been born in March, I've not had a full night's sleep. I'm waking up multiple times in the night. Like you just said, I've still got a 9 to 5. So I'm still predominantly working from home, but there are times where I have gone to the office. But again, I have a supportive work set up, but again, I still have a 9 to 5. I've still got the pressures and the stresses and the busyness sometimes of being an accountant. We have some super busy times, usually around month ends. So I've still got all of that, you know, still dedicating and, you know, cultivating my marriage, you know what I mean? And then, like I said, you know, looking after baby girl. So, you know, there's a lot of things that I have to juggle, and a lot of things that you have to, it's like you have a basket full of things and you have to decide how much energy you're going to give each one of those things. And there are going to be some things that unfortunately take a back seat, but it's like I can't afford to let my marriage take a back seat. I can't let to take my role as a father take a back seat. I can't afford to let my job take a back seat, because that's my livelihood essentially. I'm not making any money from athletics at the moment. And then, but then I want to be this really good athlete. But athletics is the thing that if I have to cut something out, it will be, I have to miss a session today. I have to do a different session today. You know, I have to do the track session, but I can't do the gym session because I haven't got time. Or I'll just do the gym part, but I can't do the track part because I haven't got time. So for all the sessions that I've actually had written, I can't say that I've done them all, because sometimes I've been too busy. Sometimes I've had such a stressful time at work that I don't train at all. I said to my coach, yo, this week has been mad. So I'm sorry, but I haven't been able to train. So, but look, I make no complaints about any of this stuff. You know, everybody's dealt a hand. It's just, you got to play your hand. You can't say, oh, but my man's got jokers. He's got aces. He's got this. I just got to play the hand that I'm dealt at the end of the day. So yeah, there's a lot behind the scenes, obviously, that I'm not putting out there, but you know, everybody kind of has their thing, you know? So I never sort of look at it and be like, oh, I wish I was full time or whatever, you know, you just kind of just take it in your stride. But yeah, there's a lot obviously of things that I have to manage, and obviously I thank God that I've been able to manage them.
Yeah, man, definitely. I mean, it's obviously looking at like your journey, it's not even with having to manage all those difficulties, you're still reaping some rewards in the process. So I imagine there's an element of like not judging when you do have to let certain things take a backseat, and there's an element of kind of allowing things to be as they are, because it's quite difficult when you wish you had more time to do something and you can't. You can go one of two ways, either like really negative and like, oh man, I'm never going to be able to XYZ because I don't have time, or like, okay, I can do the best that I can, and go in that direction. It's interesting what you said as well about like money and athletics too, because at the company I was previously working at, I actually had a colleague who was a hurdler for GB in his time. I don't know if you've heard of him, Gabriel Akin-Odujobi. If you've heard of him,
I haven't,
maybe.
but I would go in his. I'm probably gonna, after this, I'm gonna go in his power of 10. and have a look at like the caliber of athlete that he is.
Yeah.
That's what I always do. Every time I hear about an athlete, I'm like, okay, that's what we do. We go on our power of 10 profiles and see like what we're made of.
Yeah. So he retired because he got like quite a lot of back injuries and that kind of thing. And is now working as a director in marketing. But anyway, the point that I wanted to make was when I first joined and he was telling me he used to be an athlete, I was thinking, oh, right, yeah, you're an athlete. Like, oh, yeah, you know, he was telling me about the races that he'd been at and et cetera, et cetera. And then I said, oh, you know, it must have been like quite a healthy living then if you were doing that quite actively. And then he said, nah, there's no money in the sports. Like the athletes do not get rewarded. And it shocked me. I didn't, and then I was like, what? And he said, yeah, all the athletes that you see, like, they're not really making anything sustainable from the sport. And then I remember he told me something which really blew my mind, which was that athletes at the, he said this, he said, how much do you think an Olympic gold medal winner gets? And I was like, bro, they're hitting the bag. I'm saying 100K minimum. And then his man just goes, zilch.
Zero. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? Because I live in Stratford. So I was thinking, wait, you're telling me this whole Westfield thing, the Olympic Village, that's all this shit that's been built on the back of you guys performing, bare money pumped in, and the person who wins these races isn't getting anything. It
Zero.
blew my mind. How do you navigate that part of being an athlete? Because in my mind, that's quite tough to me.
Yeah,
I would say it would feel like a bit like I'd feel a bit hard done by, because you know you guys are putting in work.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like when somebody wins the Olympics, they're considered the best at something in the world, and for that person to be broke, like I think it was Greg Rutherford. I don't know if you know the long jumper Greg Rutherford, who won gold in Beijing, and he was saying recently, like I saw a video of him where he was saying that people just assumed, but when he won his gold medal, he was broke, and I was like, what? And it's like, it's actually that mad, like, because what it is like with athletics, like it's weird because you have sports like football, for instance, where the way it's like you can be a bang average footballer getting like a couple grand a week in like League One or League Two, whatever. But like it's not like peas, but like, you know, it's something, right?
You can live off. You can live.
You can live off that. Yeah, track and field, like for people, like you have athletes who are funded, so the lottery funding that athletes will have. Even that, I don't think the highest level of funding in this country, don't quote me on this, but I think it's around like 20 bags or something, like 20 grand is what they'll get if they're like on the highest level, which is like medal potential, and then it reduces depending on like the potential level or whatever. But then obviously most athletes, the best athletes, will make their money from their sponsorships and their endorsements. So obviously somebody like Usain Bolt would have done very well. He had Puma, he had Virgin Media, he had, you know what I mean, he had a lot of endorsements and a lot of sponsorship and a lot of brands that were putting money into his whole, you know, thing. So for somebody like him, obviously it's a different ball game. But how many Usain Bolts do you have in the sport? None. So like, yes, you have athletes who will do well. People like Mo Farah, again, you know, they will have certain level of endorsement and they're doing adverts and whatnot. So that's where athletes can make their money, from their sort of brand partnerships and stuff like that. But within the sport itself, there's limited money on the circuit. And it's not like there's any domestic level setting that you can make money from. So it's only if you can race abroad in Europe or race around the world on the Diamond League circuit, or there's like a World Continental Tour circuit, or there's like some other sort of lower European level circuits. But that's where athletes can make their money. But a lot of the time, an athlete might be spending more to get out to a meet than the prize money is worth. But then the exposure that it could give them as a platform is why they would do that, you know? So it is one of those sports where it's like the athletes are working hard, they're putting in work, and the reward system and the way that the whole sport of athletics is set up, particularly in this country, you're just not making money. Unfortunately, you're just not making money. So yeah, that what your boy said is true. You know, you get £0 for winning the Olympics. You might have in your contract with Nike that if you win the Olympics, they'll give you 100 bags or whatever. But winning the Olympics, the International Olympic Committee aren't paying you anything for that. you just go there for bands.
So crazy. That's so crazy. Like, because I'm thinking about how, as an athlete, then you navigate that experience with the difficulty of it already. The sport itself is challenging. Like, I mean, you're talking about shaving off tenths of a second to beat the next person. Like,
sometimes not even tenths, mate. Sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands. It could be that fine.
Right. And like that's something that we can't even like register, like from moment to moment. We can't even register that kind of time moving by. We can't really. So it's very fine margins to know the amount of work you have to put in to cut that down, and that there's no reward within the sport itself. I guess means you must have a level of passion and faith to keep you going.
Yeah, and I think obviously I'm not the best person to ask, because obviously I've come into the sport after forging a career. So thankfully I've been able to work hard and be in a situation where like I'm okay on the financial side of things, because athletics isn't my livelihood. But for people that are, like, it is difficult. And you know, you have athletes who have to take on like little part-time jobs and that, you know, just to kind of keep themselves going with training, because coaches cost money, you know, strength and conditioning, therapy, all these different things all cost money, right? So you know what I mean? Like, if they want to keep going, they have to find a way to fund that. And if they can't get funding, and like I said, most people in this country are not funded, are not sponsored. So it's like, you almost feel like it's a bit of an unfair playing field, because the funded guys, at least they have everything kind of in their favor. The rest obviously is up to them, but everything's sort of stacked in their favor. Whereas people like us, we're kind of going a little bit more off our backs to make things happen. You know what I mean? But yeah, I can imagine that it's very, very difficult for some people with regards to like the time they want to put into the sport, but then they have to work. And it's the same with me. But again, like I said, obviously I try not to let it discourage me. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, you want a certain level of reward for the amount of work you're putting in. And it's mad to think that you could be the best in your country, or the best in Europe, or the best in the world at something, and be broke, or to get no monetary recognition for it.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. And you know, hopefully that's something that over time the athletes can start taking a bit of power back.
And I think that's what it's going to be. Yeah, I think it's going to have to be something like that develops a system that rewards the athletes more than they're being rewarded at the moment, for sure.
So yeah, my final question for you, Eugene, because this has been a really good one, man. I feel like
I've been happy.
People are gonna. I feel like a lot of people are gonna get some real good gems out of it. A lot of good gems out of it. I'm curious to know though, at this point in your life and at this stage, like, what's your dream for this journey? Like, is there a specific thing that you're looking at and thinking, that's what I'm aiming for now, that's where I want to be, that's what I feel like it will manifest for me? What's that for you?
I mean, by God's grace, like, the thing that I think about most now is I want to test myself against the best in the world. I want a setting, whether it's a Diamond League meeting that I get invited to, whether it's a World Champs, whether it's the Olympic Games. I want to race the guys who are supposedly the fastest in the world. I want to be in that company and see what I can do in that setting. I feel like when you're in those situations, you're able to elevate your level to match that company, right? So for me, yeah, you know, you want a GB vest and I want to run sub 10 and all of these different things. But I think the biggest thing for me is I like a challenge. I like competition. I like to push myself. So the thing that I think about the most is like for instance, there's a diamond league in Newcastle. So the London, that the UK, it's normally in London, but it's in Newcastle this year. It's on the 13th, and Trayvon Bromell, who's the current world leader in the 100 meters, is going to be there. Andre de Grasse, who was a bronze medalist in Rio, is going to be there. Like some of the top sprinters in the world right now are going to be at this meet. Obviously, I've not been invited to that meeting, so I'm not going to be able to participate. But when I saw the lineup, it's like, yo, like this is mad. Like this is the real deal. Like this is when the whole world is watching, like who's gonna really like come through and do the job. So yeah, for me, that's got to be the thing up there, like to put myself in a situation where I can race against the best in the world, whoever that may be, you know, at the time, and see where I come out in that situation, you know.
Yeah, man, like the Champions League final.
That's
essentially for athletes.
That's
like
it,
you want to get you. That's what you're aiming to be in that.
That's it. So whether I hit that mark or not, I'm gonna be gunning for it. I'm gonna be striving for it. I'm gonna be believing for it, and let's see what happens.
Oh man, I'm sending you all the best on that journey, and I hope to be turning on BBC one day, or Eurosport, or whatever channel it's on, or DAZN, wherever it is at that point in time, and being like, yo, that's that guy that I went to uni with, you know, the guy who scored an ACS in the ACS derby is running against big dons now, man. Eugene, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. For those who want to keep following your journey or start following your journey, where can they go? Let them know.
Predominantly Instagram at Track Dadzie. That's track as in athletics track, and then Dadzie, DADZIE. That's me. Yeah, I haven't got Twitter, but I don't use that. So predominantly Instagram. Hopefully a YouTube series coming soon. Maybe we'll see. But if I can be bothered to do, because again, thinking about doing all the edits and that, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's another process. So yeah, you definitely want to consider that. But if it does come out, I'm definitely gonna be tuning in, man. I think it would be good to see the grit behind all the glitz, you know, like everything. But yeah, thanks a lot for being on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Appreciate it. And for everybody listening, thanks again for listening to this episode. We'll be back again next week. Take care, everyone.